changes spanning generations, or a shift in the wind, a body dormant underground. His world is right.
Welcome to Onward Live, a live stream focused on encouraging you to create a life you love living now. Let's go beyond success to significance. Being clear on our why is crucial. It requires doing the inner work, finding ourselves, getting to know ourselves, embracing our inner child, shedding social conditioning, and letting go of perfect. We know obstacles make us stronger. We can dream big and take action. Believe you can, and you're halfway there. I invite you to tune in every week and engage with me and my inspiring guests. Invite your friends. Let's make time for what matters most in our lives. Let's move onward together. Hi, everybody. I'm getting some signals that's saying we're having a few connection issues. So I'm hoping that people that are watching the stream can see us. If you can let me know in the chat, that would be great. I'm out in Seattle, Washington. You can see I don't have my normal background. I'm visiting my roommate from college, Darlene, and it's kind of rainy here. And maybe that's the kind of part of an issue with connecting with the internet. I'm not really sure. It's showing that I have a good connection. So I'm hoping that you guys can see us and hear us. And it would be great if you're watching, if you could let me know that in the chat. So, oops, dropped my glasses. I'm excited to bring okay, so we got a hi from Florida. Is it just me? I'm unable to hear you. Okay. So someone else said, all right, Jennifer says she can hear me. So I'm not sure what's going on there, but we're just going to go with it. Hi, Jennifer. And let's see, operator error. I can hear you now. Okay, good. Oh, last time I went live. So anyway, I'm excited to bring Ramona. It's kind of way across the ocean. This technology is just unbelievable. So let me bring Ramona in here and we're going to go ahead and get started. Ramona, thank you for joining me. You're in Germany or Austria? I can't remember.
I'm in Austria, Salzburg, Austria. And thanks for having me.
Yeah, I've been there. That's where the Sound of Music was filmed, right?
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm. I was there several years ago with my mom and my daughter and my son, and that was such a lovely trip. I really enjoyed Salzburg. It's just beautiful. And your last name is Hasenöhrl. Hasenöhrl. Did I pronounce it right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. You're the first one.
I don't know how I did that. Well, welcome, and I appreciate you being here, even though it's so late where you are. And I just love your introduction. You're what you submitted to me. You're a happiness coach, which I love. I mean, I don't know that many happiness coaches, so I'm looking forward to learning what that's all about. And then you said, also, you're a clown. So I think that's an awesome way to introduce yourself. I'd love for you to just tell us a little bit about you, and then we can get into some of the things that you've experienced in your life. Like you had a skydiving accident, you lost your dream job in 2012. And, this show is about creating a life that you love living. And you can do that even though you've been through hard times. So I'm looking forward to learning more about you and to having this conversation. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, how did you become a happiness coach and a clown?
Yeah. Yeah, that happened after I lost my job. So I got asked so many times after that bad year in 2013 how I managed not to fall apart, because it was really tough. I almost got financially ruined, you might call it. So I lost everything. My partnership went down because maybe you can imagine when you lose your job, you're in a psychic situation, special situation, and we didn't make it. So many people started asking me, how do you do that? Why do you still smile? And I
Yeah.
thought about that and said, because that's the last thing they're gonna get. So if they take everything from me, not my smile, not my laughing. And that brought up the idea, why don't I teach people how to cope with crisis, how to cope with bad situations? What is it about that happiness mindset? So I've been working a lot on that. And as I'm not only a happiness coach, but also an astrologer, which wasn't my main job in these days,
Yeah.
I, of course, took the astrological insight, took a closer look. Why are there some people who seem to be like natural happy people?
Yeah.
And that was about 4 years ago. I realized, okay, now I'm with all the knowledge I collected and the trainings I did, I now can go and tell people, come on, do a workshop with me, weekend workshop, and I teach you more about that happiness mindset. So what's it founded on, this
Mhm.
magic happiness mindset? So
I'm
that brought me
curious.
to the happiness training.
Yeah. What was your job that you lost, or the work that you were doing?
I was working for the biggest broadcasting company in Austria for over 17 years. So I'm a director's assistant and worked a lot for live TV shows. I
Yeah.
loved it. That was my dream job. So first of all, I studied at the University of Salzburg. And when I finished, I got this job and I was all
See,
happy with
so
it. And
sometimes, okay.
yeah, and I believed I will get old there, like many people do, right? They think I stay here until I'm 65.
I'm curious for the people that are watching. Let me know if you're seeing connectivity issues that I'm seeing. And maybe it's just on my end. And if it is, I'll just be patient. And I don't know if Ramona, you're noticing connectivity issues where you are, but I'm just going to be patient. Sometimes you cut out. It could be because of the weather. But I'm definitely connected to the internet. So I'm curious if people are watching, they're having that. So you worked in your job was completely different than what you ended up doing. I mean, you completely reinvented yourself. You became a happy, and I mean, you learned about what is it that people, just something naturally they have? Is it a decision they make? Is it some people can do it, some people can't completely reinvent themselves? What have you discovered?
I think that everybody can invent him or herself. The thing is, how big is the pain before you do it? Because I didn't know that my pain was big, because I loved the job. I really loved it, but I didn't love the job situation. It was very stressful, very low respect in that company, very low paid. I just didn't get that because it was always enough for me. But I didn't get the big picture of how hurtful it was for myself.
You were
And
thinking
after
you
it
loved
was
the job.
over, and
You were thinking you loved it, but then afterwards, that's when you realized all these other things that you didn't maybe love about it.
years later, it took me years. The first 2 years, I spent crying nights, crying over that lost job. And people didn't understand me, of course. My friends, they were like, come on, it's over. I founded my own company after 4 months. I decided I want to restart with astrology. I've been an astrologer for a while at this time, but just for like hobby.
Mhm.
And still I was crying for that job. Nowadays I can't imagine, right? But that was normal. And after years, when I got to my real self, what I call it, I realized how painful the whole situation was. And what I realized is how it feels when you are on the right spot in your life. And that was different to the situation before. So I did the right thing, or life pushed me in the right direction. Nowadays, I'm very, very grateful for that. But the first years, of course, not.
Years about that.
Excuse me, now I didn't get you. There was a bit broken connection.
Okay. What could you have done? You said you went for a few years, like feeling just frustrated and sad about it. What did you learn from that? And what would you have differently now to not have that last so long?
If I had the chance to talk to my younger self, right, I would just tell myself, don't be scared. You are on the right way. Trust yourself. Because I felt I want to go there. I told all my friends I never want to go back into a working situation where someone tells me constantly what to do and that I do it wrong anyways. So and they all said, "Oh, you are so snobbish. You sound snobbish." They didn't understand me, and now, of course, I got a bit insecure with all that, and that's what I wish people and what I try to teach people. If you feel you are right, you're on the right track, stick there. Trust yourself. Don't give up, and don't listen to those voices, even though if they're good friends, right? But step back and just go your way. I mean, sometimes good friends have good advices, yes, but if they constantly tell you, no, that's not right, why don't you look for another job and get back into that, what I call rat race nowadays,
Yeah.
right? Then trust yourself, trust your inner instinct and your inner child. Because I think that our inner child knows exactly where we belong to. We just forgot how to listen. Yeah.
How do you listen? How do you find that inner child voice?
I feel it in absolute joy. That's the only words which describe it. For example, I started long-term traveling in 2015 as I realized I can work from everywhere on this world. So I rebuilt an old Volkswagen camper van,
Oh,
and it's over 35 years old and still driving.
wow.
And I traveled Europe for 3 months, 4 months. And whenever I am in that car and drive off, I have that absolute inner joy inside myself. And I know I'm right. Because when I'm on the road, I get the best ideas for new workshops, for new programs. It's like a creative volcano which starts at the moment I'm on the road. And I've been traveling every month, every year for 3 to 4 months, because I know my soul needs it, and now I can do it.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
it is. I love it so much.
Yeah. I mean, your skydiving accident was before you lost your job, right?
Yes, that was in 2003, and that was the first time in my life I realized that maybe life is not what it looks like, right? Because in the media, when you work for media, especially television, you get the very extra point of view when it comes to life and spirituality, for example, because those people are all bam, 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 and we are counting seconds and minutes, and yeah, it's very special. And I was living in that pace and in that style, going out a lot, talking unimportant stuff, just trying to earn enough money to do all the fun stuff you love, not thinking a lot about yourself. I mean, I have to admit that I've been in self-development since I've been 20. So I wasn't completely off the track, but I preferred not to think too much. And I felt in my lifestyle and my living, I will live forever. That was, and then I had that real bad accident. And the moment I crashed ground, I felt and heard my bones breaking. And that noise was more awful than the pain, I have to admit.
Oh my
And
gosh.
and then I realized the first time in my life that life can be over within a second. And I asked myself, would I be okay with it being over now? Was there everything in it I expected? And my answer was no. No, no, no. There were too many false friends, too many not good connections. Too many times I thought I have to say yes to something just not to get in trouble or
Yeah.
just to be everybody's darling. And I radically changed that, which of course leads to the point where you're losing friends, people don't understand you anymore. They say things like, you changed so much. Yes, of course.
Yes, I
Hopefully I
did.
do.
Did your parachute not open? I mean, what happened? Did you land wrong?
No, that was we were a group of girls highly interested in winning a competition, and we were like training all day, and the weather situation changed dramatically, and we just pushed and wanted to do another jump, and normally one would have said, under normal circumstances, leave it. But that was the first factor. And then I had a quite big parachute, and I didn't make it back to the airfield. So I landed outside somewhere. There were some huge trees. You get some turbulences when the wind's getting so strong, and it just collapsed about 10 to 12 meters above ground. I don't know what that is in feet, but it's high enough to die. That's what
Yes.
the doctors told me. And I fully recovered. Um,
What did you
which
break?
My spine. Yeah, that was awful. Yeah, really awful, because the first thought you get when you realize it is, does that mean I'm in a wheelchair now? Or what does it mean? Then it was clear, no, we are safe, but I had enormous pain for over a year. And that was the first time in my life I understood pain patients. That they, at some point of their life, they are just so desperate they don't want to live anymore.
Yeah.
So that brought me pretty close to that topic, how it can happen that you get so desperate just because your body doesn't work anymore. Like, yeah.
Yeah. And
Mm.
I hear both sides of the story. When I used to be involved in advocating for, more awareness on the opioid epidemic. And so we
Mm-hmm.
have people abusing opioids, right? And so we claim on that, but then it's harder for people in a situation like you were in, pain meds, when you really need them,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you have that over there in Austria. That's a big issue in the United States, cracking down on pain medicine, and it makes it harder sometimes for people who really do need pain medicine to get it.
Mm. Mm.
So we've got people from all over the world listening. So Leah's in and I know Maria's in the United States in Maryland. And then we've got a Facebook user saying that they love your attitude towards life, Ramona. You're one of the most inspiring people I know. And so thank you very much. I can't see who made that post. I just see Facebook user. But she is inspired. Been through. Mean to you. You love living.
Could you repeat that, please? There was one little issue again.
Yeah, I know. And so what does it mean to you? And we've got somebody watching from Sydney, Australia, too. That's awesome. What does it mean to you to live a life, to create a life that you love living? What is it that you really love? What does that mean to you? Some people, it might mean I travel all the time. Other people might mean I'm in the moment. I mean, what does it mean to you?
For me, traveling is one of the real big things, and it always was. I never could have dreamt of how it can be, how it is now, with all that time I have. And that doesn't mean I'm on holidays. I work when I travel, but I love my work so much that it doesn't matter. Yeah. I'm just somewhere else. I'm at the sea or in the mountains in France or Spain or wherever, or Croatia, and just sit there in front of my camper and work. And I love writing books. I never thought of this. That just funny thing was, it happened like a coincidence. When I was in the first 2 years after I lost the job, and I didn't have enough clients, and nothing worked out, really nothing. My aunt said to me, why don't you write a book? You've got time enough now. I was like, you like writing? Write a book.
And now you've written 8.
Yeah. So when she said that, I thought, it's a crazy idea, but why not? And I'm a passionate gardener, so I wrote a garden book for people who have no money at all, meaning how to plant and build your tiny extra home garden with almost no money. So, and I found the publisher within a few weeks, which is amazing over here. Amazing. I was so lucky. And so the whole thing started. And when I thought back after my 7th book, I think, I asked myself one day the question, what did you want to become when you were 10? And I remembered that I wanted to become a writer. So I had forgotten about that dream completely. Of course, with a 10-year-old dreams the future in another way that it got. So, but I'm a writer.
That's amazing. I think so many of us forget what we dreamed about when we were children.
Yeah.
And then you did it. And a Facebook user says, you have created a life that many people just dream of and never live. And Lydia says, you're very creative. tell us about, so you wrote a book about gardening for people who don't have very much money or very little money. What other books have you written?
The next one was, as my aunt opened the door for the whole writing career. She's a person who works with crafts, arts, and that is the one in English I can share.
Yeah, it's not all
And
of them are
so,
in English.
yeah,
But yes.
the only English one. And so we wrote together this book, meaning I wrote it and she just showed me how to do. So she does all that stuff with just plants, the coloring. It's all natural. Yeah. With all colors of the rainbow. And I took
Beautiful.
all pictures in the book, and yeah, the publisher was really happy with it and asked after we finished it if I could do another craftswork book about printing. So I did that with an artist as well. And the next one was a book with a mental trainer friend of mine. She wanted to write a book together about mental training. And I learned a lot about techniques and mental training techniques with this book. So
That's
um,
amazing.
yeah, it went on and on. And then I had one of those huge dreams. I always wanted to write an astrological cookbook, because I think that you can see what people love to eat. And I'm very proud of this one because it's I made it with a friend of mine. She's a photographer, and she took all the pictures because food photography is special. And so we cooked during the first lockdown in 2020. We cooked for 12 signs, a menu with 4 dishes for each of them. And we did that in 4 months. So
4 months. If
we
someone
cooked
asked
a
how many
lot, ate a lot.
someone asked how many lifetimes did you achieve that in? Oh, just 4 months.
Yeah.
I guess we're all slackers, you know. So I mean, and the title of this show is, know what you really want. Go for what you really want. Do it. Figure out what you really want and do it. And you're showing that that's what you've done. That's amazing.
Mm,
That's
yeah.
amazing. Yeah. And so people can find your books just by searching on your name and under Amazon, right?
Right.
They come up.
Only thing is the only one in English is the art craft one. We tried to do a translation for the cookbook at the moment. Let's see when we can finish that one.
Yeah, because it says, are there any plans to have any of the books converted to English?
Yeah. So this one will come out in English for sure. It's just a question when.
Okay. All right. And Lydia
Yeah.
asked, how many have you written? I think it's 8, right? 8 books?
It's 8, 7 and the translation. So I count the
Okay.
translation as the 8th one, the
Yeah.
English one. And yeah, the newest one before the Cooking with the Stars is my first novel. So they are all how-to books, right? But one novel. And I'm pretty proud of that one.
What's the novel about?
It's called Traveling with the Blues. You can see my car over there. And it's travel stories, because I realized that people who are traveling alone for weeks and months, they sometimes get in kind of a very special mood. So first of all, you're all happy. Oh my God, it's a life dream. I'm on the road. Yay. And after 5 days, you sit there in front of the campfire and ask yourself what the hell I'm doing that for. Sydney all alone. What for? So that's what I call the traveling blues. And in
Got
this book, the traveling blues personalizes. So he's a pretty mean guy. And he steps around the corner and criticizing, being mean, and how to deal with him is a thing that many long-term travelers have troubles with, and they like the book.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet. Well, I think
Mm.
this is on. So when I have a guest come on, my guest can broadcast this show to their Facebook groups too. So this might be from your Facebook group. Someone is saying, I know a great bilingual person who could potentially help you translate.
Yeah.
And it looks like you have somebody else who has read your books. So let me just put up here your Facebook group, which is Happiness Reloaded. That's your Facebook.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
So, yeah. What is this about being a clown?
Yeah. That's another thing that started pretty early. In my early 20s, I got as a birthday present a clown workshop, a weekend workshop. And I joined it, and have to admit that I didn't really get into it. So it was nice, okay, but I never forgot about it. That was the funny thing. And a few years ago, I read about a weekend workshop for like find your inner clown. And I remembered that there was something before. So I just, signed in, went there. And it was amazing because I had a picture of how my inner clown would be. So this work was real hard work, 5 hard days where you work out your inner clown. What is she or he like? How does he react? And the teacher was gorgeous because he teased us very much and tried to get the mean part out of you. And I loved working on that figure very much. So when the whole lockdown situation came, they offered a few online workshops, so clown workshops via Zoom. And I joined all of them. That was wonderful. And I kept going with it. So I work on that clown, and I did some circus shows with my tiny dog, where of course I am the clown then. And it's fun. I like it. Liking with the personality.
So tell us a little bit about your clown.
She's chaotic. That's the only thing which brings us together, because I sometimes am chaotic too. But what I realized is she's her name is Federica, and she's mean sometimes, and she's like bragging a lot, like doing stuff which isn't true. And I didn't think I could do that, because I am not that person. I'm a truth teller. So, but that Federica, for example, I do that. For example, I do the language. She's like, bragging with that her dog can knows the name of 15 different things. And that's not true. The dog doesn't know all the names. So she knows ball and carrot, for example, and bear, but not 15 things. And Federica just says, "Oh, la perrita is muy clever." And that was so weird for me at the beginning to realize there is something in me which is like that, of course. Otherwise, that clown wouldn't show up.
Right.
So
I'm curious, when I think back to, you had your dream job that you lost, right? It was your dream job and you lost it. But then as time went by, you realized there were so many aspects of it that you didn't like.
Yeah.
Why do you think you didn't realize that when you were in the job? Or do you think you did, but you couldn't admit it to yourself?
Maybe a mixture of both of it. First is that in these days I was an adrenaline junkie. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been a skydiver, right? So that television work is always connected to much adrenaline. It's like
Mhm.
you're starting a live show. Yeah, we go live in 3, 2, 1, and we have to be finished in 10, 9, 8, and so, and you're always on the whoa, yeah, and
Yeah.
we made it again. And then after the show, you go home and it's over. There's nothing left. And that's what I loved. Nowadays, it's when I finish work, it's not finished. And of course, I'm happy it's not. I'm self-employed. You don't want to
Right.
finish, right? You want to have more. So, but it took me years to get used to that it's not finished at the end of the day. That drove me crazy. And I realized that this was one point I loved so much. And of course, the camera work and the work with the people. We had live shows where you have to like do that intro and make people laugh and show them how to clap and applause and everything. I loved it. So that was what I do nowadays, working with people and motivating them. That was hidden there. And I didn't know that there is much more I can do with people and give them. I just didn't know it. It's I thought it's okay. Make them laugh, make them clap. Everything's good.
So by losing your job, you realized you had to leave your comfort zone and figure
Absolutely.
out, you had to reinvent yourself. And it sounds like, I mean, since then you've written 8 books and, you know, all the stuff that you've done, you travel in your van. It sounds like losing that job um, gave you so much more.
Yeah, it did. As I said, nowadays I'm so grateful for it. And I have a very, very wise friend. He's a carpenter. And he said to me a few weeks after all that, it was a disaster. The end of my working there was a disaster. And I was devastated. And he told me, listen, I know you don't want to hear it, but there will be one day when you want to send flowers to the person who fired you. I promise that. And I said, never, ever. No, no. So
Oh,
we
I love
forgot
that.
about all that. So after 8 years, I called him and said, you know what? Now I'm grateful. Still not sending flowers, but grateful. And last year, I told him, I am at that point now. I'd like to send some flowers to that ex-boss of mine and say thank you. Thank you so much for firing me and saving my life, because otherwise I would still sit there in a room without a window, what you need when you work for television, right? It's always cold because those high end machines, they need different temperatures. And you were sick 8 times a year because of that. That's all that comes up now, right? You have to ask someone, may I go on a holiday? Mm. I don't want that
Yeah.
anymore.
That's awesome. It's just, you know, it is sometimes challenging to see the gift or the opportunity into something when something quote unquote bad happens to us.
Mm.
And one of the areas I coach in is mental fitness. And we all have a judge in our mind that judges circumstances and situations and other people and says it's bad. And if we can just stop for a minute and switch to our sage, you know, our inner child, and realize and ask, well, get curious. Is it really bad? What could come of this? And sometimes we may not see it right away, but just have confidence. I've interviewed almost 200 people on this show, and people have had quote unquote bad things happen to them. I have not had a guest yet that hasn't said that was one of the best things that ever happened to me, or I'm grateful for it now. They've all been grateful for their experiences. Sometimes it's just so hard to see it when you're in the middle of it.
It is hard.
Yeah.
It's so hard. And that's what I tell people who are my clients or who come to my workshops. Many of them are in a similar situation I was. And I tell them, be kind to yourself. Just be kind. Have a good, big heart when it comes to yourself, right? Not always all the other people. Be kind to yourself. Take your time. You are allowed to be angry. You're allowed to cry. Do it. Just be you. And there will be a time, and I promise them, because I know I'm allowed to promise that, where it's getting better. And I think that helps people so much, that they are allowed to be in this situation. And
yeah. Well, that's
I think one of the most...
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
One of the most dangerous things is when people come up who are still in anger or grief and say, I know I have to be grateful. No, take your time. Mm-hmm. That gratefulness will come.
It will.
When it's time for it. Yeah.
Compassion for yourself is important, and then that gratefulness will come. And a Facebook user says, love listening to you both. Thank you for what you do too, Emily. Yeah, I think the having guests that share their stories helps other people realize, I can be like that too. Maybe I could write a book. Maybe I could become a clown. Maybe I could become, an astrologer. Yeah, I mean, look at all that you've done. It's amazing. Yes. And someone else says, allowing it all in, for sure. Now you have a podcast, Ramona. Mm-hmm. It's called the Happiness Reloaded podcast.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about that.
That all started, the Happiness Reloaded Facebook group also started during the first lockdown. So it was an amazing year. Because I then wanted to give people a platform where they just can come to and share stuff, stay happy, stay in their energy. And I started doing interviews live in the Facebook group, and then realized, why don't I put them into a podcast as well? That's perfect, right? So I have in there people from all over the world who share their stories, and share how they stay happy, or share how they came up with a great idea to do something what their heart wants, their inner child, their soul wants. And there are so many amazing stories hidden. People who decided to leave everything behind and get artists, for example. I had in my interviews a car mechanic who realized that he's a painter, and he started painting and started selling pictures, and he got self-employed with over 50. I think that's so brave, that's so wonderful. Doing what he was made for, right? And I collect all those stories in the Happiness Reloaded podcast. Yeah.
I love that. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, when I retired from working for the Navy, everyone was telling me what I should do. And I think one way to figure out what you really want to do is notice your energy. Like people were saying, you should become a government contractor, or you should help government contractors who want to do business with the government. And thinking about that made me go, ugh. And now, being a podcast host or a live show host like this and coaching people to create a life they love living makes me go, yes. And so sometimes we think, well, but I couldn't make enough money doing that, or I don't know if I should do that. There's a lot of coaches, whatever. There's only one me. There's only one Ramona, right? And people are going to be attracted to work with you. People are going to be attracted to work with me. And there's abundance in the universe. Do what you love. Figure out what you really want and then do it, like you say. Yeah.
So true. Yeah.
Someone says, don't you shit on me. Yeah, that's one of the things I do with my clients is have them list all their shoulds and see which ones they can get rid of. Yes, for sure. So tell us a little bit, Ramona. I'm going to put up here as we have 10 more minutes or so. You've got, this is how people can email you, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And tell us a little bit about what it's like to work with you and the kinds of things that you offer your clients.
Mm-hmm. So most people come to me because they want my astrology. They want astrological insights. So what I do then is I look at the birth chart, and I always say you don't have to believe in astrology, because I don't believe in my dentist as well.
Okay.
Most important thing is he does his job, but I don't have to believe in him. And that's the same thing with the astrology. It does its job. So I look at the birth chart and I can tell people, listen, I see here what life made you for. Did you consider to go in that direction? Mm-hmm. If that's their question, if they come with how's my partnership, of course I don't talk about that, but normally you see very clearly where life wants us. And we can then work out together which would be the best way for this person. So, for example, when I looked at my birth chart years ago, the first time, and I was learning astrology, I saw, okay, I should speak in front of people. What? I couldn't imagine, right? Why should I say, how should I speak in front of people? What? I couldn't imagine it, but yeah, it got its form by itself. So, but I can support people to find it clearer, and of course can help them with very special questions. For example, people are showing up and asking, listen, partnerships don't work out for me. Why? Why do I meet the same men, women all the time? It's like a piece of puzzle and it never fits. Why? And that you can see very clearly in the birth chart. Then, of course, knowing about that doesn't help. It's not enough, right? Then you have to start working. And then I offer different programs, beginning from the weekend workshops up to 4 and 8 week programs where we can work on a special topic if people want so. And that's what I can do online and offline. The weekends, of course, they are here in Salzburg. And I have some like one day workshops where we just work on one energy, for example. The next will be Venus. Venus in May, we talk about love and how we can see what love wants from us in the birth chart, and how we get a deeper look on what are our wishes and what do we want when it comes to love. Most people don't know. And then they wonder why they don't get it.
Yeah, you got to know what you want, and then you go for it, right? You got to be really clear on what you want.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think if you don't know what you want yet, then take your time.
Mm-hmm.
Take your time and try to feel a lot, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to admit, when I started traveling, the thing was, whenever I traveled before, when I still was working for a company, I had to go back after 4 to 5 weeks. We have really much holidays here in Austria, but 5 weeks is most. And I always thought, what if I don't go back after 5 weeks, right? I just keep on traveling. So that was the feeling I had on my first trip and nothing else. It was just, and when 5 weeks are over, I keep traveling. I don't go back. And I want to know how it feels. And so I didn't know, first of all, what I want, but it got its form while traveling.
Mm-hmm.
That's one
Yeah.
example. But of course, if you're looking for the right partner, you should know what you want. Yeah, you should know how it is to have breakfast with him
Mm-hmm.
or go on a holiday. How do I
Mm-hmm.
want that to be? Most people just think of how should he look like. So that's not important at all.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mm.
for sure. So what do you find most enjoyable about going on your long trips?
There are so many things. First is the surprises, because I never plan. Um, I just I make a direction. Okay, do we go west or south or north? And that's it. So where does it take me? Which people do I meet when I'm traveling? Um, I'm always looking forward to the sea. Of course, we don't have our own sea here in Austria. And how will the weather be? How will everything work out? Which places will I get to? And sometimes things just happen. I end up somewhere I didn't plan to go, meet people there I'd never have met when I would have made plans. And some of them stay friends then for years and years. So that's what I enjoy most.
Awesome. Yeah. So how challenging was that for you? Are you typically a planner, or was it easy for you to not make plans and to just head west?
Good question. I love making plans, but when traveling, I don't like it. So
Okay.
it suits me doing it this way. And I have to admit, as the car is that old, the first years I had so many things to think about it, because once in a while it just didn't work anymore. It was just, yeah. There were so many thoughts about the car and what I have to know and what can I repair on my own, and where do I need someone who can help me, in which language. We have so many languages over here in Europe. So my brain was so full with that I didn't make any road plans.
Okay.
And now I have a wonderful young mechanic he's a magician, and he fixed everything. So the last trip I was like, oh my God, everything's working. So should I make plans now?
I love that.
So yeah.
And you have a dog that you take with you?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, very, very tiny dog, a Chihuahua. Like,
I have a Chihuahua.
really?
I miss her. I miss her because I'm on the West Coast now. I'm not at home, but I miss her. Yeah, I have a
Okay.
Chihuahua.
Oh.
Yeah. She goes with
Yeah.
me wherever I go. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah. They're
Mine's
good.
asleep over there, so I don't wake her up. But yeah, she travels with me since 2017.
Mm.
So she's been to Great Britain, Scotland, France, Portugal, Spain, Croatia, Italy. She's been
Amazing.
everywhere.
That's amazing. Yeah, my dog, if she were here, she'd be asleep too on the floor.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ramona. You're an awesome guest. I really enjoyed talking with you. And I learned so much from you. And I think that there's so much we can all learn about, like, going for it and really going for what we would love, and don't hold back, because life is short. And you're fortunate you realize that. Sometimes, unfortunately, you had to realize it with your accident, but I mean, you realized it, right? And yeah, I mean, a couple years ago when my kid's dad passed away, that's when I realized it. I was like 56 when I realized it. It's like, whoa, life is short. And I saw him die with regrets, and I thought, what is it that I want to do? And how do I want to die? And have I done everything I want to do? And I hadn't. And so it really has changed the way I've been living my life too. So, well, thank you to everybody who watched the show and who commented and everything. I really appreciate you guys for showing up every week. And I'm glad that you guys enjoyed it. I go live every Wednesday at 7:30, and pretty much every Wednesday I'm going to do something I really love, and I'm going to take a couple of months off for the summer. I think I deserve it after doing almost 200. I deserve to have a little bit of time off where I don't have to think, yeah, it's Wednesday, I got to do an interview. I love doing these interviews. The time off is going to be fun. So everybody who joined in just and commented, and check out Ramona's Facebook group. Let's see, where is it? Right here. Yeah, Happiness Reloaded. And you can email Ramona, and you can also go on Amazon and check out her books and listen to her podcast, Happiness Reloaded podcast. Ramona, I'm going to put you in the green room for just a minute, and then end the show, and I'll be right there, right back with you. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, everybody. All right. Let me see. What do I got to do here? I've got to do that. And then I've got to do that, I think. No, wait. I got to remove Ramona. I'm getting used to this. All right. I'm going to play my outro. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Have a great week. Onward Live is sponsored by Emily Harmon Coaching and Consulting. Visit my website, emilyharmon.com, to learn more about me and my coaching programs. I'd love to help you create a life you love living. Remember, every adversity is our own personal university. Sometimes the lessons are difficult, and we must learn from our experiences. Vulnerability is your superpower. You are lovable and worthy. And we discuss these topics and more because professional is personal. Thank you for joining us and engaging with me and my guest. I look